Welcome to Raising the Curve, a podcast designed to teach you everything you need to know to be better with your money. In the wise words of Amy Schumer, we're slipping carrots into the brownie recipe.
I don't really get the saying.
It's kind of like eating vegetables that actually taste good. You know, like putting
Still
carrot
not
in the
with
brownie
you.
recipe.
Are you on the script?
It's basically like saying investing in finance can be boring as but it totally doesn't need to be.
Okay. So we're making it fun by putting the carrot, aka the vegetables, which are good for you, into the brownie recipe.
Okay, we got there, okay.
Okay.
Wow, you've really got a finance brain.
Yeah, one of us has to.
This is true. Okay, come and learn alongside me from Vic Harris, ex-fund manager, where I'm going to ask all the questions that you wish you could.
And I'm going to be eating all the brownie you wish you could.
No, that's so not the joke, Vic.
Oh.
Okay, just come and talk and learn and laugh with us because together we really can raise the curve. Sorry we didn't dress up. We
are doing an Olympics special.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, there's been quite a few random facts that I've seen in the last couple of weeks that I don't know, I feel like there's a way deeper meaning to things like the Olympics, not just history-wise, stat-wise. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going around about, you know, gender equality and there's just as much women competing as men, blah, blah, blah. But there's actually a lot of deep-rooted information around like how it's affected economies over hundreds of years, how like there's a lot to be learned here. And I feel like it's just nice sometimes to focus on stuff that's topical and actually educate around like what is a massive conversation. Most people around the world would have in some way, shape or form surely watched some part of the Olympics.
Yes, hopefully.
Well, I'm really sad because I missed the rhythmic gymnastics, which is what I used to do. And I
actually saw this girl and she threw it up. And then
Threw what up?
The ribbon thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. The
Like,
stick.
everyone's like, no one can see you.
She threw up the ribbon thing and did this twirl and then landed and then like put her hand up to catch it. And she missed.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I actually thought of you, not like, but like, I was like, oh my God, actually quite hard. She wasn't even looking. She was just like, and then,
Yeah, it's quite funny because I used to do that. Well, I mean, probably not anywhere near as good as her, but I'm really clumsy. But for some reason, I was able to like
hand-eye coordination was really good.
Yeah, it's so devastating when you see gymnasts. I mean, any athlete, they've trained for millions of hours and then they muck it up at the Olympics. Like devastating.
I know.
I think the only thing is,
or else they go viral like Ray Gunn.
Who's that?
The breakdancer.
Oh, yeah.
The Australian breakdancer. You come 16th, but you go viral and you're now a household name and everyone knows you. And the poor person that won gold in the breakdancing, it was like, I didn't know who that was.
Do you reckon they did it on purpose? Like
to get.
I mean, it's genius if it was a publicity
Australia had
stunt.
the most gold medals per capita.
Oh, that's right. And they're also the lowest paying in terms of like what gold, silver, bronze gets. Did you know that?
No.
So the highest paying country is Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And I think it's something like it's in the hundreds of thousands in terms of what they earn. And then Australia for gold only get like 13,000.
I thought Britain didn't pay them anything.
Hong Kong for a first, this is all in USD, pays 768,000 for gold. Australia pays 13,000.
Wow.
How gutted would you be? Or their bronze, Hong Kong's bronze is 192,000. That's more than what Australia gets for
that
first place.
That would definitely make me want to win gold.
Same.
Yeah, if you don't get any like financial benefit, I mean, it's not all about finances, is it, Vic?
But like the fact
passion
that
of the sport.
Third place is still like
miles
20
ahead.
times more than what first place wins in Australia.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
In the UK, athletes don't get anything.
What?
Yeah.
Don't they?
No.
Why would you bother? Nah, sorry, I know it's not about money.
It's not about money.
Why don't they get anything? Do they not get anything?
Money is life.
They don't get anything. That's weird.
But all the sponsorship deals that you'd get, all the endorsements. Like I remember reading a stat ages ago that when it comes to tennis players, they only make 10% of, and please don't fact check this, they only make 10% of their earnings actually playing tennis and winning tennis games. The rest is all endorsements. But the thing with the UK is they do support the training, etc., and they pay for all of that, which I actually thought, I was like, the Olympics is every 4 years. Like, who is paying for all that while you're not earning? But then you're just like, it's interesting.
But I guess that's what I mean. I think that's what's interesting. As an example, in places like Bulgaria, where gymnastics is like the national sport,
Is it actually? Did you just make that up?
I think I made it up, but there's like definitely
It's like, wow, that's a fun fact.
But it's definitely like one of the more, like it's how a lot of people make their way out of poverty. And I guess in New Zealand, a lot of money is pumped into rugby. You know,
Yes.
every country has their sports that they focus on. And in New Zealand, when I was a gymnast, my family had to like fund my training, buy my leotards, buy all of the tickets to like competitions, entries, you know, it's hugely expensive. Like I look back and I'm like, God, I was a spoiled
my
brat.
family was probably like, thank goodness you're not an athlete.
It was so expensive. But yeah, it's a really good point, because if in the UK they sponsor or pay for training for athletes, it means that you're able to choose that as a career without worrying about money.
Yes, yeah.
But I'd be interested to know how much and how it varies from sport to sport.
Prize money is probably just like such a small percentage of their personal brand as well as an athlete. Like I reckon this Olympics has been, I felt, one of the most on social media. Like people that have won gold medals or done interesting things, or even like this dude that like ran over and hugged his girlfriend and now they've gone viral. I think it all comes down to that of like, how do you build your personal brand, and therefore you get sponsorships, endorsements, all of that. And like Serena Williams got a $40 million Nike deal after winning the Olympics versus someone who won the weightlifting. They got paid the same prize money. You know, it's like, it's not all about prize money. I think it's your brand as an athlete now.
It's almost like,
you know, like
what you need to be spending money on as an athlete is your PR plan.
Totally.
Opposed to your skill set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if endorsements is majority of your money, even if you're not the best, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's all about your attitude or how you inspire young people or blah, blah,
and
blah.
for a lot of sports, like Serena Williams, tennis in the Olympics would not be a big kind of tournament for her, or not be as big as the US Open or Wimbledon or things like that. You know, winning those would be way more high profile for her than the Olympics.
And I guess that's an interesting point, is the idea that some athletes, the pinnacle is the Olympics.
Yes.
And maybe their prize money is reflected in that way. But then for others, it's not.
Yeah. But the Olympics actually started back in 1896. So,
I know.
God, that's ages away.
It's so long ago.
Yeah.
But I actually also didn't realize that when the Olympics started, it was actually like, it started in Greece and it was like more of a religious festival than it was. And the whole concept that's, I guess, evolved over time. I mean, when we were researching this, stuff that kept coming up was like Olympic truce and
it's all about equality and bringing
diversity
together nations. And it is definitely one. Like that, the whole opening ceremony in Paris was all around like doves and peace and like white flags and like surrender. You know, like the whole ethos is like, leave your disagreements at the door. Wow, does that sound really weird?
No. I know.
Leave your disagreements at the door. We're all here for sport. And I reckon there was definitely moments where I was like, sport just brings people together. Even if you're watching a rugby game, a hockey game, a tennis, like everyone there is just in such good spirits. Yes, you've got your football and soccer fans over here that are a bit psycho sometimes, but you know, it's this weird camaraderie.
Yeah, I don't think I realized the positive impacts or motives behind it in general until we started digging deeper. And I think even like one of the things that we came across was like the flag, each color that's chosen, like in terms of those rings, represent the 5 continents, like as in every single country, one of those ring colors features on their flag. You know, it's the idea of unity and diversity and coming together, which is so cool.
But they've banned Russia.
Have they?
Yeah, they banned Russia from the Olympics.
Oh, whoa. But that's what I found quite interesting, is the whole idea of, you know, we're waving the white flag and coming together. The fact that there's a war going on at the same time. It's like,
it's a bit contradictory.
Why is no one, Let's chat about the economics when it comes to Olympics, because in the Curve Weekly we spoke a little bit about how sometimes the ongoing effects of the Olympics and tourism can reverberate through different generations.
Yeah.
Can we speak about that? Because I'd love to know like how far in advance people find out they're hosting and which Olympics have actually impacted in a positive way financially.
Yeah, so the Olympics happen every 4 years, except poor Tokyo in 2020 was COVID. So it was the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, but held in 2021, which is kind of a bit confusing because all the merch is like 2020, 2020. So
no.
Yeah. But
imagine the amount they poured into merch and like signage and everything.
Infrastructure, building stadiums, aquatic centres, like roads.
But that stuff still lasts. Like the amount of like things that have like been like especially even like medals. Like they would have had like 2020 on it, wouldn't
That's
they?
why they kept calling it. It's called Tokyo 2020, but it was held in 2021 because you don't go back and change everything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was just held a year later. So I know, but it's more the people that missed out on going or that were going to go to Tokyo that would have spent money on restaurants, accommodation, shopping that didn't. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, so Paris, the budget for the Paris 2024 Olympics, they spent 9 billion euros on that Olympics.
9 billion.
9 billion. Just casual.
Like
nearly 2 of that was cleaning up the Seine River. And
2 billion, that's right. God, that's a lot of money.
And
when you just find another river.
The athletes got sick, the triathletes.
Imagine how dirty it would have been if you hadn't spent 2 billion.
I know.
You dry reaching because you're thinking about what's in the river.
I'm thinking of something in the Thames in London. I'm just like, I'm like, you couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me 2 billion swim there. No.
Really? Oh my God, I'd be jumping in nude. I'll swim. I'll drink it.
I'll drink it. Anything.
Actually, maybe not.
The London 2012 Olympics, which I actually went to.
Did you? What
part? My sister was living here at the time and I came and visited, and the only thing we could afford to get tickets to was the dressage.
The horses.
And we were like, the horses are fun. Oh my God. We get there and they're just going like this. No one can see me. We're like, they're just trotting weirdly and stepping really slowly and not really doing much. And we were sitting.
Like the most underwhelming event to go to.
Oh my God. I was so excited to go to the Olympics and it was the biggest.
Were you like, when's it starting?
I was just like, oh my God. Now I've got to sit here for hours watching these horses.
Did you think they do jumps and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is dressage again? It's
just the movement of the feet. I don't know. Some horse riders are going to be like.
How much were tickets to that?
So I paid about £20.
Oh, that's nothing.
I know.
You can't complain about that. You know, you got to get the vibe of the Olympics for £20.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you had seen nothing but like the horses getting, brushed, I would have been like,
woohoo. Yeah. Yes. But the 2012 London Olympics cost about £9 billion. So relatively the same as Paris, but in pounds. Rio was about 13 billion US dollars.
Why would they have spent more?
Because they wouldn't have had the infrastructure.
Like their starting base was
stadiums, roads, all that kind of stuff. But then again, like you said, it can pump a lot into the economy. In LA, they've got about a $7 billion budget.
So less than everyone else.
LA is 2028. I mean, your budget. We all know everyone goes over budget.
But by like double, $7 billion, imagine.
Yeah.
Oopsies, we went over budget by $7 billion.
We'll report back in 2028 on how much they spent. And
I wonder
bet you. Should we have a bet?
Yeah,
no, we don't gamble.
Yeah. We bet. We'll just bet a lollipop or something.
I reckon 12.
You reckon they spend 12?
Yeah. 12 US.
So that's 8, 9, 10. That's $5 billion over budget. Surely someone's flagging that as they're going $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion over.
Imagine just getting that invoice from the builder.
I know, you think your like house renovations went over budget.
They're like, here it's $5 billion over budget.
You actually need a new
taxes
bridge.
are going up, Americans. Sorry,
shit.
yeah.
So if we were to look at some of the last locations where the Olympics were held, for example, Rio, what year was that?
2016.
Yeah, 2016. And then London in 2012.
Yeah.
This looking to LA in 2028. London was considered like financial success, right?
Yes, yeah. So there was areas around the Olympic Park and places they built stadiums which really benefited in terms of house prices and their economies, and like Stratford, for example, which like house prices did fantastically well. They're up like 100% since then. So it's like there are areas that benefit, like pockets of London that benefit.
Because I guess Stratford as well is like probably the only place there was space to build stuff, right?
Yeah, and it puts those areas on the map and you get all this new shiny infrastructure, all these like restaurants, bars, like it's kind of, it accelerates the development of your borough, which is only going to be beneficial. But that's not always the case.
Yeah, because I guess it's like with London, there's the constant like pushing people out of the centres who can't afford it, like gentrification in general, and people kind of moving further away from the centre of a city. Stratford is like, I guess, as people that are living in London, just for context, it's not that far. Like, like Stratford now is like a pretty normal place to go. It's not like, oh, you're going out to the Wops, you know.
Whereas beforehand it probably was.
And so I guess like then looking at Rio, how did that financially affect the country differently? Like why do you think London was able to kind of like...
Because I guess there's a maintenance cost as well. Like once you build these big stadiums, etc., it's like you need to keep using them and keep refurbing them, maintaining them. Whereas Rio didn't have that money afterwards to do that.
They didn't have the FU fund.
Yeah, they didn't have the FU fund, and so they've become ruined. It's been a waste of money. They've also had to like push people out to build those stadiums, and now it's like, so it just wasn't as successful post-Olympics as London has been, which is, you know, Rio spent $13 billion. Waste of money.
Yeah. And so
like if you'd spent $13 billion cleaning up the slums and the favelas and like all of that, not that I'm telling, you know, Rio how to run their country.
Into like Parliament one day. But really,
but I think it also comes back to political stability as well. Like Rio, very politically unstable versus London, LA. But then LA, a lot of homelessness, which they're worried about. Heading into 2028, what do you do with all those people?
As in they're going to get pushed further away.
Yeah. It's more around the fact that you're going to see all this money be poured into building these flashy new stadiums and not fixing a homelessness crisis. It's also what we talk about with the Seine River. It's like you're spending all that money to clean up a river for Olympic Games. Why don't you pour that into cleaning up the streets so there's less rubbish, you know, like reducing carbon emissions? You know, it's sometimes the priorities are probably misaligned for the Olympics in terms of what other money could be spent on, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
So hard,
every politician has their own kind of things that they want to spend money on, but yeah.
It's so interesting though, because it's similar to how when you talk about like business or the stock market or the economy, there's always those like knock-on effects. It's like, what would the social knock-on effects be if there were no Olympics and there were no sport? Like, because that brings people together. People spend money going to see them. They spend money in pubs to watch it. There's like young kids that are...
It's
like,
hard to know the true dollar value of like the lingering effects, I guess. Yeah.
I think it's incredibly bad taste to think about, because in LA, the homelessness problem is actually enormous.
Yeah.
And it's so Hunger Games energy to be going and building these outrageous stadiums and places for, you know, the Olympians to be housed when they're there, when there's people that can't afford to eat or sleep in a bed.
Yeah. But then like the flip side of that is, but you're bringing all these tourists and people spending money to LA, which will make the economy better, which means there'll be more jobs for those homeless people. You know, like it's all a cycle. Yeah. I'd love to put like... Oh, this is so random. Put a little camera on money, like on some dollar notes, and just watch it go around in society, see where it ends up.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great like campaign for something.
Kind of hard though, because we don't really use cash anymore. But how cool would it be to see how a little dollar just goes around and round and round?
I love that. If anyone happens to know micro cameras and if we would be put in jail for filming random people, please let us know. One of the things that I've heard spoken about a lot, because a lot of professional athletes get paid a shitload of money in quite a short space of time. And we went to an event, it was like hosted by it was almost like a venture capital company that had invested in a company. It was something to do with like heaps of athletes post like their professional career, I don't know, like invested in, I can't remember what it was, but one of the stats that was shared.
They get their money for their fund from professional athletes, basketball players mainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the stats that the founder was speaking about, he said something like, you know, the amount of, I can't remember what the percentage was, of professional sports players that end up in financial hardship after their peak is really massive. And I'd love to speak about like what some of that earning capacity is and why and who maybe that's happened to, if there's any like case studies or, because imagine if you were 16 and, you know, competing at the Olympics, earning millions of dollars and you have no financial education, the way in which that would like affect them from a mental health perspective? Like, I don't know. I just think it's
think it's just an
fascinating.
Olympics thing. It's like when you go from being non-professional to professional, and then you sign a contract like Serena Williams, if that was her first time signing a Nike contract for $40 million, like that would fuck with you.
Oh, totally. 40 million. Good God.
Yeah. So it's like making sure that these athletes, particularly the young athletes, have the right kind of support and advice around them, and not someone that's taking advantage of the fact that they've now got loads of money.
What are they spending it on?
It's like someone automatically winning lotto, and then there's all these kind of shady
People being like, let's be friends.
Yeah. And
let's go hang out.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's just, I think it's also when you're an athlete, your body is what is making you money, and your body can only last for so long, and you can only be in that peak performance for so long. And so it's making hay while the sun shines and realizing what are you going to do after that, so you don't have like an identity crisis. Do you know what I mean? There's also a case of a lot of young athletes being, you know, if you were a young pole vaulter.
All right.
If you were a young pole vaulter.
I'm just thinking of the penis man whose penis got caught on the bar. Honestly, that is the funniest thing to come out of this Olympics.
So good. Yeah, so if you're a famous pole vaulter, you're focusing on that, and that is 110% of your time. You're not sitting there learning about finance and how to manage money on the side. So when you do get a whole lot of money, you haven't had that financial education. You've probably actually taken time out of school even to focus on your sport and your career. So you do lack that financial education and are probably going to make some stupid financial decisions. Yeah.
I also think it's similar to celebrities. It's like you really need to have, I know some of these sports people are celebrities, but if you think like Britney Spears or, any of the pop stars that have been really massively taken advantage of, you would need to have such trusted people around you from like an advice perspective who have access to your money. Like I reckon there would be some pretty scary horror stories of people who have been taken advantage of financially.
Yes. And we also spoke about the fact that female participation in the Olympics was not allowed until the 1900s because we were supposed to stay at home and look after the kids.
You got more bread to make.
Yeah. We don't have bodies that are made for
sports.
Pole vaulting.
Don't even try and jump over a high jump. Clean the bathroom.
You're too precious. You're too fragile. You might get your period.
Oh, God, sometimes it fucks me off. Sorry.
But anyway, so women were allowed in the Olympics in the 1900s, which was kind of when the Olympics started. But I think the participation was so low, and it's quite incredible to now see equal participation in the Olympics. We're finally at 50% male, female, 100 years later.
Oh, sorry. So just backtracking to our, mocking the kitchen bathroom vibes.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually that there was a huge time that women weren't seen. It was just the representation was super low for a long, long time.
Yeah. And now we're at equal participation in 2024.
Yeah.
And did you know in Australia this year, so this was their best Olympic Games medal-wise.
Yeah.
And
didn't Australia do the best of all?
Yeah. Medals per capita.
How annoyed would you be though if financially you were bringing in like a 40th of what, like as in if Hong Kong had won that many model, if Hong Kong being the highest paying in terms of the athletes, if they'd won that, imagine the money being pumped into.
Yeah.
Or is it the country that pays them?
The country.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not the Olympics.
Right.
Each country has like an Olympic
pool of money.
Union or Olympic committee. Anyway, in Australia, yes, the most medals per capita, but that was all driven this year by women, the participation of women. So over 72% of the gold medals that were won in Australia were won by women.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And that's versus in London, it was like 37% won by women in Australia. So that whole move of Australia being the best medal winning country per capita was all driven by women.
Oh, I have a question. Are the medals actually gold, silver, bronze?
Yes.
And what if they just melted their medals and went and like invested,
Yeah.
I mean, commodities are, as you always talk about, actually really safe investments.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Like, are they solid gold?
Well, the gold and silver medals are mainly made out of silver. There is some gold in the gold medals, but they're worth about $900.
That's not a lot.
No, but it's more the stature.
Yeah, they'd be
of it.
heavy.
Yeah, but they also this year include a little piece of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, I love that.
I don't really know how that works.
How did they do that? Like cut a bit off?
Yeah,
and then
you also
smash it
like
up?
don't want to keep doing that and fall over. Everyone's walking around.
Honestly, the way your brain works sometimes, I'm just like so funny.
I can just
They're
imagine.
not going to take a whole section out of one side
And you take it
fall
off
over.
the top, not the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very clever.
So no one sees it.
Imagine
But
if it was like the Sky Tower and it just slowly goes.
just like,
The top of it just slowly goes down.
yeah. But yes, so they're worth $900. They do have gold in them, which means gold price is going up.
Oh, really?
Your medal is going up in value.
Oh,
Great
sorry.
investment. Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with the commodities as in gold, silver, bronze don't go up because the Olympics
No,
are
no,
on.
not because of the Olympics. But there was a gold medalist from Berlin in the 1936 that recently just sold their medal, and they sold it for $1.5 million.
Million. Cool. Right.
Sorry, it was a few years ago that they sold it,
think-
but like still, like, that's insane.
It's maybe one of the athletes that's in financial hardship and they're like, I'll sell my medal. You know, like quite sad if that's
Or
the
just
case.
very financially savvy and thinking, I'm sitting on this
Amazing asset.
little disc thing.
I'll chuck it up on trade
Chuck
me.
it up. Yeah. It's also worth noting that afterwards, after the Olympics finish, it's not over.
What do you mean?
There's the Paralympics.
Yeah. Don't you think it's a bit weird that they, you know, the whole, as we spoke about, like the whole purpose of the Olympics is to create diversity and unity, but then they separate the Paralympics from
Yeah, I
not?
wonder how much longer that will be for. Do you know what I mean? Before they just combine it all.
Yeah.
But there is less demand in terms of viewership and attendance for the Paralympics. So unfortunately, though, the ticket sales are a lot cheaper for the Paralympics than they are for the Olympics.
What would the difference in ticket price be for the Olympics that's just been compared to the Paralympics?
So ticket prices in Paris in 2024 for the Olympics were about 24 euros to about up to €1,000, depending on what you attended.
That's expensive.
Whereas the maximum price at the Paralympics is €100.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
It's so
I think,
shit.
like, say you're paying €1,000 to watch Serena Williams at the Olympics. You know, it comes back to this whole discussion of like athletes where their sport isn't viewed as much, aren't paid as much, but then in order to get them to increase viewership, you need to pay them more. And it's like this whole like discussion around gender in particular, around women are paid less because they bring in less viewership for their sport. It's like,
It's a cycle they can't
but
break.
it's a cycle. It's like they
yeah.
haven't had years where they could actually participate in sport at a full capacity like men could. So therefore they're not considered probably as good or like, you know, it's just, honestly, it's just, yeah, it does my head in. And I just want to finish on one person that attended the Olympics that got paid about $500,000 a day to attend.
Snoop Doggy Dogg.
Doggy
Oh my God, can we cut that out? I'm so
Sorry,
embarrassed.
yeah. But
But what was that about? 500,000 a day?
$500,000 a day to attend.
That is
Yeah.
outrageous.
And again, I think it just plays into this whole thing about like trying to make the Olympics more fun, accessible, interesting for people. It was the first year it was like all over my social media.
They need to send someone to the Paralympics if
Yeah.
that's what it does. Because
Totally.
maybe, honestly, that money was very well spent. Because if he's there and lots of people are all of a sudden posting about it, thinking it's cool, blah, 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 the same concept needs to be applied for all the other Olympics.
Definitely.
Because also surely that then increases money. It increases how much they pay for tickets,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. It's quite a good strategy from them, to be honest.
No,
I'm like, I would go.
same. Even if I had to pretend I was interested in
I would watch the dressage for that much.
Yeah. For 10 days though, you'd get so bored. Imagine if it was,
No, I would, yeah.
you would hate that.
10 days of dressage is probably
Like you just get so dry.
like watching paint dry. No offense to any horse riders. It's a very skilled sport. I get it. Sorry, it just wasn't really up my alley.
Nice. For any dressage
I
diehard
know.
fans, then they're like, F you, Vic.
If you, yeah.
So interesting. I'd actually would love some feedback on this. Like whether it be commenting on Spotify or Apple, like putting your feedback, are these types of episodes interesting in terms of just holistic economics, what goes on with things like sport and money? Because I'd be really interested maybe in doing a deep dive on sport and money, like comparing some of the...
We'd love to get some athletes on to talk about it as well, their experience. So if you know of any athletes that are willing to talk about
send us their
the
numbers
pay
and
discrepancy or just like how it fucking works.
Yeah.
Would be great.
I find it fascinating, but it'd be good to know if you do, because if you're listening and you're like, no, this is not an episode for me, please can you comment or like message us? It'd be really good to get some feedback on that. But 4 years time, we've got 4 years. So if you hated it, there'll be a few episodes in between.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, bye. Thank you so much for listening to Raising the Curve. These conversations are designed to teach you everything that you need to know to be better with your money, from saving to investing to talking to your friends about your salaries.
And if you liked what you heard, we would love it if you could hit the subscribe button, please.
Yes,
or
please.
Better yet, leave a review. It'll only take
nice
5
one.
seconds and it would really make our week, our year, our month.
Okay, lots of love. See you soon.
Bye.